Hey guys, my name is Crakin, and I've noticed something a little weird with the Warlock videos I've been seeing around lately. None of them really want to go into too much detail with the individual specs and rotations and stuff. It's a lot of, oh, look at the new pets, and look at the spell graphics, but nothing of real concrete information. So I kind of wanted to make a video to share that with those not currently in beta. We'll start off with some of the changes for Affliction Warlocks. Now the very first thing you're going to notice, no more Shadow Bolt. I welcome this change wholeheartedly. Remember back in early Cataclysm when Drain Life was a viable filler and it was a very, very popular spec. It seems they went to the Drain casting filler sort of thing. Now instead of a Drain Life or a Mind Flay like Shadow Priest get, you get Malefic Grasp. And what that's going to do is it's going to haste your dots by 100%. So they're going to tick 100% faster while you're channeling that spell. So essentially your rotation becomes putting up your dots, your Curse of Elements, a Haunt for a buff, and then Malefic Grasp channel until you need to refresh. Now Haunt does something a little more interesting this time. It's not just a straight buff to your shadow damage. It's going to increase all your damage by 40% for 8 seconds. The downside is it costs a soul shard now. Now these soul shards are a very limited resource since you only have 4 at a time. And the only way to get them back in or out of combat is drain soul. And you generate 1 soul shard roughly every 3 to 4 seconds with drain soul. Now the next spec I wanted to focus up on was Demonology Warlocks. Currently in live, they're loved for their 10% spell power buff, especially in 10-mans, myself included. Now, one, that is fixed in beta because all Warlocks get the 10% spell power raid-wide buff with Dark Intent. Now the next thing I noticed was that the rotation seems really, really simple. I mean, you toss up Bane of Doom, your Corruption, Curse of Elements, and then you're using Shadow Bolt mainly to generate Demonic Fury. Soulfire is also used, but if it's used on a target above 25% health, it doubles the cast time, so it's mainly a Shadow Bolt. Now in this clip you're going to notice I'm not using Hand of Gul'dan. Something's kind of whacked on beta right now where it's not allowing me to cast it. Now in the latest beta build, they did nerf the Warlock tanking abilities to the ground. Now they're still able to do it, just not as well as they were before. Now before in beta, they were able to main tank raid bosses and stuff, and there's no way that's going to be allowed, just because they nerfed the damage reduction to the ground. But the one thing they did add was a sort of second metamorphosis form. I found it really weird. It's called Dark Apotheosis. It does the same exact thing as metamorphosis, but certain abilities can be used, certain ones are on charges. It's a work in progress, obviously. And Metamorphosis itself, same thing. You are going to be using Immolation Aura as usual, casting Refreshing Dots as usual, but the only thing that's changed is your Shadow Bolt turns into Demonic Slash. And what that's doing is just being in melee range and slashing the hell out of your target. That is essentially it. Now it has no cooldown, so it can be spammed to hell and back, and it does do a moderate amount of damage. Other than that though, Demonology didn't change a whole lot, it just got a lot more streamlined and makes a lot more sense. And the final spec I wanted to talk about was Destruction. Now Destruction has a really cool thing going on with Burning Embers. And Burning Embers you generate by immolating the target and casting Incinerate. You'll generate 1 per Incinerate up to a max of 30. Now what Burning Embers do, the more you get, you're going to start igniting yourself on fire up until you're completely encased in fire. Now the more you have, the more damage you're going to be taking from that fire. It's not a whole lot, it's about 3 to 4k a tick at max embers. Now what they're used for is if you cast Soulfire, it's going to use 10 embers to increase its damage. Now when you have at least 10 embers, one of the little icons at the top underneath your mana bar is going to be filled up. When you cast a Soulfire with at least 10 embers, and Soulfire by the way is a guaranteed crit, it can crit for upwards of 100 to 110k. Huge burst damage. I'm sure you've noticed by now as well is how empty the action bar actually is. There's not a whole lot going on with destruction at the moment. It is definitely a spec in progress, mainly because you'll notice the icon for Bane of Havoc is there, but it's not yet implemented. A couple other things you can use those embers for are you can use a full set of 10 embers to also regenerate 35% health. Cool little thing going on, not just damage oriented. Now, when comparing to live, destruction has changed a ton. It has a very complicated rotation in Cataclysm as it is right now. Now on beta they're obviously looking at simplifying that, but right now it's kind of bare bones, so I can only give a very simple overview. But you can at least see what the developers are going for. So that was a very brief, down and dirty overview of the changes for Warlocks and Mists of Pandaria beta. I do enjoy what I see so far. It's all very much a work in progress, obviously, but there's still plenty of beta time to go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.